Hey girl, hey, it's Aaliyah. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're already a subby. If you are not, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And let's go ahead and hash this out right now. So I opened up the floor to take some questions from you guys, and we're gonna do a brutally honest Q&A. First things first, let me introduce myself if y'all don't know me. Hello, I am Aaliyah. I am 27. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm originally from Northwest Indiana. I was raised by my maternal grandparents. I do have siblings, blah, blah, blah. That's boring. I don't have any biological children. I guess I'm considered a TikToker because that's where like my largest platform is. But I just like to say I'm a content creator. I create lifestyle content, so you'll see a lot of vlogs, a lot of like skincare, self-care. That's kind of what my realm is. Okay, freeze. So I don't know how I forgot this information, but also some of y'all don't know, I graduated with my BS at Clark Atlanta University, and I am going to start my master's program this fall, and the long-term goal is to be a plastic surgeon. So I will go to medical school, we'll do all of that, but that's where I am right now educationally. So I am a STEM girly. I'm actually a really big nerd. Like, I love science, and if you've ever heard me talk about anything, I love science, medical-based science and life science specifically. And I just want to include that because that's like a really big part of my personality. So if you are new here, hello, welcome. So that's like the premise of whatever, and those are your basic questions. So I did open up the floor. Let me pull up the questions and let's get to going. Okay, I think I deleted the thing with the TikTok questions on it, my bad. But I remember some of them. Somebody asked, do I have siblings? Yes, both of my birth parents have other children. I'm the only child that both of them share. So for anybody who's curious about that, yes, there are other kids in relation to me, but I did not particularly grow up with them. So I grew up with my grandparents. I lived in the house with my grandparents basically from the time I was like when I was first born, and then me and my birth mother moved out and I lived with her for like maybe 2 years, and then I ended up back with them when I was like 2 or 3 or something, and I lived with them until I was 18 and I moved states. And I also remember somebody asking me, why did I move to Atlanta? Long story short, I wanted to go to school. I knew I wanted to go to school out of state. And that was the plan, and I couldn't get financial aid right off the bat. It is what it is on that accord, because when I was living with my grandparents, even though they were like filing me on taxes and stuff, they never formally adopted me. Like, even though I lived with them, they were my primary guardians, whatever. They had like paperwork from when I was like 2 years old, so like 98. They had paperwork from then, and it's like it still mentions like them or my mother, like my maternal grandparents or my mother, as like my primary guardian. So I guess it was like split guardianship between them, or like visitation was figured out between them with like my birth father. And so they never formally adopted me, even though like that was my whatever. And they would not, I couldn't get emancipated, so I couldn't get financial aid. So I moved down here. Zayna guy, he was also part of the reason at the time, and I'm fortunate that like I'm not with that man. He was an Aquarius. Different story for a different day. If you've been here for a while and you've ever seen any of my story times, then you know he was an Aquarius, and like those story times are about that same man, okay? We ain't even gonna get into that though. But so I moved down here, and then I was working. I started working in a club. Then I put myself through school. It wasn't just myself. My grandparents did have a part in it. My birth mother also had a part in it, and also my partner had a part in helping me finish my undergrad and like paying for undergrad and everything. So like that whole collective kind of figured it out. Someone also asked, the same person, I remember these questions, but I just don't have them. And the same person asked, why did I take time off? Because it was supposed to be 2 years on my birth mother, 2 years on my birth father, because like they were unfortunately still I was still dependent of them, because they would not, I couldn't get emancipated, and like I could not file independent. So I was supposed to do 2 years under my birth mom, did the 2 years under her, and then it was my birth father's turn to do his 2 years, and he screwed me over. And I don't even remember what excuse he gave me. It was like some BS about like, oh, I didn't do my taxes or something, so like I can't file for financial aid. And like I had waited, because like, you know, financial aid opens up in like October or something, but I've always did it late. He knew I was dependent on him to do like my financial aid that year, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna come up there so we can do this, like whatever, because you know, my birth mom did her 2 years, these are your 2 years, like 4 years in total, and then I'm out, and then I'll age out where I don't need it anyway. And homeboy was just like, no. Like, it was like the week I was supposed to fly out, and I was like, I just want to confirm. And he wasn't gonna say anything. If I hadn't said anything, he wasn't gonna say anything about it, which is even more frustrating, because I'm like like I'm buying flights right now. Like I'm looking at flights to come up here and get this taken care of, and you're just like, no, like whatever. And so that was probably also my breaking point of like, yeah, I'm not really feeling a relationship anymore. Like with this man, I wouldn't say I had a great relationship with him growing up anyway. And then that was kind of the point where I was like, yeah, go ahead, let that happen. So yeah. So my birth father was not financially responsible for me majority of like my upbringing. He paid child support, and if I ever did call him for stuff, he didn't really have it. So he wasn't the person that I went to for this. So when he agreed to the school thing, you know, the half and half situation, I was like, okay, cool, like whatever. And also, he was in the military, and I had asked for my GI Bill, and it was a bunch of smoke around that, because he was like, oh, why would I give you my GI Bill? Like, I went to the military for it. Woo, woo, woo. He has 6 children, just to put that in retrospect. I never say how many siblings I have. My birth father has 6, including me, so 5 other kids on that side. My birth mother has 4, including me, so there are 3 other kids, right? And he's like, I went to the military, like if you want it, you should go to the military. So I had asked for the GI Bill, and he told me no about that. And he told me no about the financial aid. He contributed a total of $25 to my college education. Those are the questions I remember off TikTok. I don't know. It's really weird that I didn't take a picture of them, because I took a picture of the photo of the questions that came off of Instagram. So, very, very interesting of me. Okay. Found them. First, someone was like, none of my business. I just wanted to tell you thank you. I appreciate that. Like, life has been hard for the past month or so. I just kind of been like going through the ringer. So, I do appreciate that. Thank you. Have you always had long hair, or was it a growth process? I've always had a lot of hair, and I've cut my hair. I've done pretty much all the things except for have a relaxer. I've dyed it, I've cut it off, I've let it grow out. Like, I've been natural my whole life. That was one thing I can say that was done, was like, I never had a relaxer. I never had like chemical treatments done to my hair. It's gotten like, this is probably the longest that my hair has been in my adult life, and like me needing to take care of it myself. But I've always had a lot of hair, and like grown it out, cut it off, dyed it, fried it, broken it off at some point. So not really a growth process. It just is what it is, honestly. When you were a dancer, did you ever a celebrity? I am a reformed woman. No, I've been on dates with some of y'all favorites. I don't think so. I don't think so. Or nobody noticeable enough that like not an A-list celebrity. So no. Yeah, I've been on dates with some men's But like I've never been like a celebrity chaser. I'm not big on the term celebrity, right? You know, just because my celebrity and your celebrity are different. Living in Atlanta, two, working in the club. Like I don't have the same views about celebrity, probably just because of that. Like I really don't care about a lot of stuff, and that was one thing that I did not care about. Like even when like famous people came in, like because the club, because it's Atlanta, like everyone is so chill about it. The only time that I've ever been like super duper like, oh my god, like fangirl, like I don't fangirl over anybody. Like I don't have it in me. I'm not built like that. The only time that I've ever fangirl, boom, with a customer, by the bar, minding my business, talking to the customer, just started dancing. And if y'all don't know, Nugget's father also worked in the club. That's how we met. And at the time, like I only saw him when somebody was coming in. So I saw him like come in at the time, and I was like, oh, somebody's coming in, because he was working outside, and then he transitioned to inside by the time I kind of made my leave. Like I quit and I was like, yeah, but he was working inside like before I was done with that. Anyway, and so dancing, and it made it worse for like the type of customer that I was dancing for. Like just think about it, you get the context clues. And so I'm dancing for the customer, just started, and then the entourage comes in. It's like 10 of them, right? I see the one in the middle. I see who's the center of it. I screamed. And it was birthday bash, so I'm not gonna say who it is because, you know, whatever. But at the time, it was birthday bash. This person performed at birthday bash. They were like a huge celebrity. They're married to somebody else. They just had internet drama. Ooh. But they came in with their entourage. This was years ago, whatever. And like I screamed. And mind you, I was under 21. I was probably like one of the 5 youngest girls working in the club at the time. And I'm like, oh my God, it's blankety blank. Scream my little head off. And it was a break in the music. When I say the look that everyone gave me at the time, and then the person I was dancing for, he was like, if you want to go dance for him, you can. I was like, no, like I don't even want to. That's not even, you know, get in the bag when you can. But and it was just so embarrassing because it was like, and then I remember going to the dressing room and somebody was like, was that you? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen that person before in my life. Boom. Also, this is just water in here, my favorite cup. I'll link it down below. It's like a Stanley Cup dupe, and I love it very much. Okay, next up, did you ever see yourself becoming a content creator? I think I did. I think I've always had a desire to do content creation. I didn't know how much work it entailed. Like I wasn't sure about how much work content creation would be. And it's funny because like the year before I started doing TikTok, I was like, oh my God, like I'm really gonna focus on getting my Instagram following up. I still have never even focused on getting my Instagram following up, but then end up like, you know, gathering my little following on TikTok. And I was like, okay, cool. So that's always been a weird thing for me. But again, that's where that like celebrity thing goes, because I'm like, people be like, oh my God, you have such a huge following, and in my mind that does not, like, I'm like, okay, you know, I see the number, but it's not, it doesn't equate to fame, or like it doesn't equate to me being famous. Like Sugar Nugget has been like, oh, you're famous, or like y'all coming up to me or anything. And like, also side note, if you ever see me in public, like please come up and speak. It's fine, you know, my friends know it's gonna happen, you know, Nugget and his dad know it's gonna happen. The first time it ever happened in front of Nugget, he thought that stuff was so cool. Like he just thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and he was just like like after it happened. But like, feel free to speak. I love y'all. And like the Clark girlies know, like if you went to Clark and you saw me, like first of all, it's hard to catch up with me anyway, but like I'm happy to speak and I love y'all so much. So just making that a point. I be looking a mess, but that's okay. I still love y'all. Okay, so anyway, But yeah, so I knew it, I just didn't know to what extent, if that makes any sense. Like, I was like, yeah, you know, YouTube videos here, and like I've been on social media forever, and like, you know, kind of dabbled in it before, and even now I still feel like I'm dabbling in it because I still don't feel like I know everything. And then I've also hit this weird place of like, whenever I'm emotionally distant, and I feel like y'all can tell when I get emotionally distant for sure. Whenever I'm emotionally distant, I kind of stop creating. I don't have the motivation to create. I don't have the mental capacity to create, and then I don't want to share anything because I'm like, if I'm down, I don't want y'all to be down or like be concerned about me, because I also don't like people feeling like sorry for me in any way. And which is where my dark humor comes from a lot. But I don't like people feeling sorry for me, and I don't like people like going out of their way to be like, oh my god, are you okay? And like, I hate stuff like that. I really genuinely do. And I 9 times out of 10 don't want to talk about it. So whenever I get those, and I've been getting that like a lot. I'm also going, if you know anything about astrology, I'm going through my Saturn return right now. Whoa! But I have a lot of Aquarius and Cappy placements, so good and bad. But yeah, that's what's, so yes and no all at the same time, to answer that question. Ooh, I know you're not religious, but did you grow up religious? What made you stop believing? I never really talk about this, I guess. Cool. So, if y'all don't know, I'm not religious. I grew up like with Christianity and Catholicism, and if you ask me, I would identify as none of the above. And like, not like I'm an atheist or anything. I just don't. I don't abide by organized religion, especially organized monotheistic religion, and especially in the terms when it comes to Christianity and Catholicism, with a place of hypocrisy. Because who is like a Christian or Catholic or just like monotheistic religions to be like, our religion, the religion that we are teaching, the religion that we learn, and like culturally, our religion is the only right religion, especially in regards to like government and governing women's bodies, stuff like that, and people using their religion as like a scare tactic or as like a means of fact instead of opinion. And that's where I kind of had to check out, where I'm just like, just because you don't believe in something, because you think that in your religion that is the right thing to do, does not mean that it is like the governing rule of the land, and like the disregard for the separation of church and state. So that kind of bothers me. And then it's a lot of things about like the history behind Christianity or Catholicism that I just personally don't fare so much up with, and I don't. I believe in something, if nothing else. I always say I believe in myself. I believe in something. I just don't believe in it like verbatim by the book, especially like when the teachings are in regard, because like all the things that happen in the Catholic and Christian churches, and like, mind you, I've taken theology classes. I grew up in the church. I have been to like, I've had to go to Bible study, summer camp, school, whatever. Like, I've done the things to like that you do. Like, I did choir, I did the programs, whatever. And all of those things, and I'm just like, I did that as a kid, and like I was, you know, deemed as like, I made myself a good person as a kid, and like I still had a shitty childhood. You know, it could have been worse, and I hate saying that, but like, I didn't have a great childhood. I didn't have whatever as a kid. And not like, I also think, I said this before, I also think when I say that like I had a shitty childhood, that does not equate to like me lacking material things, because I was given the material things, especially because I did not have people who had the emotional capacity for me. So I was coddled a lot with material things, a lot of, and that's probably, I'm a material girl, and I've had to be a material girl for a long time because that's all I had. And so I didn't have the emotional, I didn't have people above me that were emotionally available. And like, I'll look at that as the reason why I respond the way that I do to a lot of things for any child that's in my presence, like my friends have kids, my partner has a kid, and even kids that like I don't particularly know, and I respond that way, the way that I do, because I didn't have that. And I always say like I'm the adult that would have held my hand when I was a kid, and that's true. Now, I'm not saying that like I don't even particularly just like children. I don't just like love children. That's not me, but I don't hate kids either. It's like, okay, the kids that are around me that are my responsibility, that like are in the friend group because they're in the friend group, like my friends' kids, you know, whatever. Cool, great. But I'm not just like random kids. Does that make any sense? I don't know. But going back, so yes, I did grow up religious. No, I am not religious. And it was just too many discrepancies within it that just kind of don't sit well with me. And that's not saying I don't have a relationship with whoever decides to be up there, but I do not fall in the category of Christian, Catholic, anything monotheistic, to answer that question. Okay. I knew this question was going to come up. Has your mind changed about having children? No. Absolutely not. It has not changed about having children. And like the older I get, the more it's not changing. Like, I think my baba was the first person, like my grandmother was probably the first person to really kind of acknowledge it, that she sees why I don't have a desire for it. And she's like, girl, don't even do it. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, the trauma ends at me because I don't want to do it. And being in a position where like it's not pushed upon me. Now, don't get me wrong, my friends, they're kind of like meh about it, and like I think my friends do think I'm going to change my mind. And I have talked about it, and I've talked about it in depth of like just my lack of desire, and not even for children, because again, my respect for children as small people, but like my lack for desire to birth and to be pregnant. That's more of what it is. And everybody's like, oh my god, it's not that bad, like it's worth it for you. It's not worth it for me. And I have like sat and weighed out the cons a little too much, and sat and like kind of played with the idea a lot more, and knowing that I also have like the family unit that I have and the person that I would possibly procreate with, and like he has family, whatever. I live in a state where I don't have any family. I have a ton of friends here. I've been here for going on, it'll be 9 years this year. And so I have friends, he has family here, but I just know that I would be bringing them into a broken thing. So it's just not me. Like, we talked about this too, because we've played with the idea. We've had the conversations about it. Like, we've played with all the prospects of the idea. That was like, okay, well, that's if it ever is the case that we want to change our mind, surrogate me, please. It's just, it is what it is. I don't desire to be pregnant. I do not want to go through that. Like, it's too many things that don't seem worth it, and like the mental toll that it would take on me, I would not be the same person. And I'm not willing to lose myself for something that I really don't want. Like, I didn't expect to even be with who has a kid, and like even like take on to like his child the way that I took on to him. So like, I'm not losing myself. I'm not losing parts of myself. I'm not losing, my mind for something like that. So no, thank you. If I want to hang out with kids, there are so many around me of different age ranges, and then I have friends who want more kids too. So like, no, I'm good. Bloop. How have you been feeling overall? I'm I'm surviving. I don't really have much to say about it. Like, it's just, like I said, it's been a lot going on for the past couple of months. By the time this video goes up, I have quit working in plastics. I have another job, and like, it took me a while to decide if I was even going to go and like work another job, because like I'm like, yeah, having a job, like, cool, I can, you know, extra money, shits and giggles, but it's like, yeah. But I don't work in plastics anymore. I saw somebody ask me that the other day. I do not quit that job, and I will be starting a new one at the end of the month. Still in medicine, but just like a little pivot in something that is a little bit more flexible with me going into the next part of my life, along with like the schedule change that needed to be adhered to in regards to like my partner and the child that's involved. So yeah, but I'm okay. And I also think this isn't funny. That was a nervous laugh. But if y'all don't know, my paternal grandmother passed at the end of April, and I've never really dealt with death per se, or like, you know, so it was a new thing for me. And I didn't grow up with her. I wasn't super duper close with her. I'm not super close with anybody on my paternal side at all. It's still something to be sad about. I was still kind of sad about it. And then the aftermath of like dealing with the paternal side is still happening, in like the kind of coercion of like my birth mother, who I don't talk to, of her like texting me and being like, oh, she's sick, oh, you should call your birth father, oh, you should, and I'm like, I don't talk to you. You're advocating for the wrong things right now, because like you and I aren't even like this. So like, I'm not talking to you, and I don't talk to him. I haven't talked to him in X amount of time, and I don't want to talk to him. I don't have a desire. So even with whatever, she's like, oh, you should send your condolences. I don't have any condolences. And a lot of like, one thing about me, I'm gonna hold a grudge real bad. It's real bad. I don't care. And the whole thing, like, one of the things that, and it was just like back-to-back text messages. Like, I would not be responding. They were just like back-to-back text messages. And I finally got frustrated, and like, I put her on Do Not Disturb, because she knows not to talk to me, whatever. Put her on D&D, and he like, oh, you talking to him, like, you calling him with raise his spirits. I'm not trying to. I don't care. I really don't. And I know you're like, oh, but you want condolences. I don't want condolences. I don't want people to feel bad for me. I don't want people reaching out because X, Y, and Z happened. Like, I don't want you talking to me because you feel obligated to talk to me because something bad happened, or you feel guilty about X, Y, and Z. If you weren't built like that to begin with, if you didn't have it to you in the first place, I don't want it now because of whatever. And if I wasn't talking to him before, I'm not talking to him now. And like, people are and that goes with that thing where it's like, oh, you're gonna be so sad when boo 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 happened. I'm like, am I? But am I though? I don't think so. I'll be alright. So it was more so that part of it that really kind of was stressful, and it's still kind of stressful, because we're going up north to go to a service for it. I don't even know. I know the time, I know the place, and I know the date. I don't know any details about anything else, but we are going up there for it. And that also includes like spending some time with like my grandparents. And then I told my grandparents that we're coming up there, and this is their first time, you know, all the stuff. And they're like, oh, are you gonna invite your birth mom? Are you gonna invite your auntie? The auntie that I don't talk to, the auntie that I have not talked to in years, and I never am going to speak to that lady again. And I'm like, no. I'm not gonna talk to either of them. Like, I'm not going to see either of them like while I'm up there. And we're like, oh, let's try to get some dinner plans going, because my grandparents are like, oh, are you gonna stay with us? And I'm like, no, we're not. And I'm not doing any of that. And they're like, okay, well, And I'm like, we can do dinner. Like, we can do like a nice little family dinner. Like, I'll be okay cooking at my grandparents' house if they don't want to go out. Or I'm like, I'll look for some reservations. My grandma's like Red Lobster, and I'm like, girl, we're not on the same time, but that's okay. That's okay. I get it. I know who you are, and it's not me. She said a buffet, and I wanted to throw up. I'm not better than anybody else, but that's just not me. That's not me. That's not me anymore. That's just not me anymore. Like, it's like saying let's eat at the Cheesecake Factory, and like there's nothing wrong with the Cheesecake Factory, but like that's not like a nice, like, I love a good piece of cheesecake, but that's something you pick up for lunch. Red Lobster is something you pick up for lunch. Like, I'm not gonna sit down at a Red Lobster to eat, and that's not saying anything about anybody else but me. I just know that I'm not gonna do it. Like, I don't want to be in there, but I know I'm going to Indiana, so it's not many options unless we go out to Chicago and found something, whatever. So yeah, but those are kind of all the thoughts about it, and like I've talked about it a lot. I probably need to go see my therapist about it. Oh well, just vibes, reballing my mental health right now. And I'm gonna stand on that. Would you ever do a meet and greet? Probably, but here's the thing. I told y'all, I don't feel like I'm famous. I don't feel like I'm a celebrity, so like I don't want to be one of those people that like I do live in Delulu, don't get me wrong, but I also am not one of those people that's like, oh my god, I'm the most important person ever, and like everybody in the world is gonna come out to see me. Ooh, like maybe if I hit like 500K, then whatever. And it's weird because most of my following is like Metro Atlanta. Like a large portion of my following is like Metro Atlanta in general. But so maybe. If you could tell your younger self anything, what would it be? That I should have bought a house when I was in second grade. I shouldn't have been playing with the kids. I should have been buying a house in the second grade. That's what I would say. I'm joking. I don't even want to buy a house right now. Anyway, no. I don't think I would tell my younger self anything. I think I would want my younger self put around more responsive adults. Like, I would love to see how me now, how if I would have been nurtured at a young age and like brought up out of love instead of survival. I would love to see how that would have affected me. So more so that I don't think I really have anything to tell her. I don't regret anything. If I did it, I did it with my chest, and I stand 10 toes down on it. So yeah, I don't really have anything to tell her. Are you mentally okay? Probably not, but it is what it is. Are you pregnant? No, would never be me, even if I was. Cut it. Brand, do we gotta jump that man, or y'all still good? I pray y'all still good. We're fine. We've just been going through it, and like, that's it. Told you. Life, and then also, the thing about death is like, it makes you kind of reevaluate every single thing. So I think that's more of like where I've been, but like, I'm fine. We're fine. We're good. No disrespect. Why is you hiding that man? No disrespect, but he is not lost. So I'm not posting his wanted flyer or like his missing person flyer. He's not missing. It's just, I don't have to. It started out as a joke, honestly. And now I simply just don't want to. And that's it. That's the only answer. And that's a complete answer for me. How do you keep up setting your boundaries and actually standing on without caring? Just to put this out there, this is the same person, and like, it's literally a boundary for me not to share parts of my life because you don't need to know every single thing about me. And like, I share a lot, mind you. I share a whole fucking bunch. So that's a boundary. But you get tired. Like literally, me not caring about so much stuff is like you get so tired, you get so frustrated, so annoyed with stuff that you just set the boundary and you stand on it, because you, at the end of the day, you're the only person that has to deal with you. Like the person that does not respect your boundary, or the person that benefits from not respecting your boundary, or you not having the boundary set in the first place, they don't really care about you. So they're always gonna try to step on it, try to whatever. And I place new boundaries. Like I've placed new boundaries with a whole bunch of different things, different people in my life, blah blah blah. And nobody really has an issue with it, just out of like actual like care and compassion in regards to me. So yeah, I don't think it's like the hardest thing in the world, but it is more so you have to care about yourself more than anything else. I'm not trying to be the nice person. I'm not trying to be considered blah blah blah. Like I'm not stepping on my own toes to appease anybody else, because I physically cannot. Like I cannot, because I did it. Like I did it teenage years, early, like late teens, early 20s. And by the time I hit like 24, I was like, I'm not like I'm not doing this. Like I'm not gonna play with y'all. And I stand on that. So yeah. Everybody keeps asking how I am. I'm here. How do you like plastic surgery office, plastic surgeon's office, and the change to short nails? I like plastics. I still have a desire to go into plastics. If y'all don't know, I still do want to be a doctor. I still want to go into plastics. I like surgery more than I like you know, just regular clinic stuff. So that is still my desire. Shorter nails don't really bother me as long as they're not like super duper short, and I haven't been in a situation where like they have to be super duper short, or like I have to take them off yet. So this is the length I've been going with, and this is fine. We're cool, we're good. But I do like plastics. I like the office that I worked in. I like the doctor that I was working for. Yeah. How do you deal with grief? I don't. I pretend that it doesn't exist, and I oversimplify it with logic. Like I just make it super duper simple with the means of logic of like X, Y, and Z. And I do that with a lot of stuff. And like, water break. Okay. But I oversimplify a lot of stuff for the means of like me being too smart to feel stuff out sometimes. And it happens a lot where like I don't deal with feelings sometimes. And like that's good or bad. Take it how you have to take it. I do it. But there are definitely things that I don't fill out as much, and like dealing with the grief in regards to my paternal grandmother, I don't think I dealt with grief as much, or like I don't think I'm dealing with grief as much. I do think when like the actual thing happens, that is going to be kind of a, I'm going to have to fill it out some more. And when it first happened, I think it took me a couple days to kind of just be sad, have some feelings, have some emotions, whatever. But a lot of times I over analyze stuff in a quote unquote logical way without having empathy for myself, or like not even empathy for myself, but more so without having, I just don't care a lot. And it's good or bad, I don't know, but it makes it so that I become very removed and I disassociate pretty easily. Now, if these were like my maternal grandparents, that's a whole different ball game, because y'all are never gonna see me again. When they decide to kick the bucket, please understand I'm in their like swimwear with them. I'm leaving. I'm out. Oh, you think you leaving? Me too, girl. Never touching grass again, because I'm wherever she at. Dark jokes, I'm so sorry. But because I wasn't as close to my paternal grandmother or anybody on my paternal side, I don't have the same response. Like I did cry a little bit, but it wasn't what I think it would be for, you know, My grandparents are getting older. I am very aware that at some point, and even at that point, like, you know, I don't think that I would share that experience with outside sources. Like, that's something that would have to stay in my circle, and that comes with that boundary thing with me. Like, those intimate circles with me, like those intimate people with me, then they have that whatever. Like, I wouldn't be the type of person to get like RIP, insert my Baba and Pop Pop's name here, like tattooed on me, or put it in a bio. Like, I wouldn't, anything that I deem like intimate like that, I kind of want to just, you know, you know, kind of close up like a little crab, like a little hermit crab, or close up like a turtle. I saw somebody eating a turtle the other day. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Anyway, but yes, I don't really deal with grief. So, has your outlook on marriage or children, you birthing them, changed? Birthing them, absolutely not. No, ma'am. Marriage, kind of, and I think it's only kind of changed because of dealing with the passing of my paternal grandmother. I think everything goes back to that right now. So I think that's the only reason that it's kind of changed, and even then, I'm not even 100% like set and sold on it. Talk about it. When I turn 30, then like maybe my brain will be a little bit more like, like my frontal cortex is fully developed. My frontal lobe is fully developed. Like, I know the pros and cons, and in my mind, I'm like, marriage is a business plan. It is a business merger, right? So 30-year-old me, she may be more like, yeah, but 27-year-old me, she's like, and then even then, I don't even think I want to get married at that. Like, I always say 30, and I say 30 for sure. And the closer and closer I get, the more I'm like, I don't have myself where I want to be to want to be married just yet. Like, and that sounds, I don't know, like, everyone wants to be the blushing bride, but I'm very much, I want to be the doctor, I want to be the scholar, I want to have myself set and come into it, like come into that merger, like being equally yoked. And like, I have a lot going for myself, don't get me wrong, don't think I'm not a bum, but I do just want to have more parts of my life kind of put together and in place going into that, if that makes any sense. So yeah, where's your dream vacation? I do not have a dream vacation. I don't have a dream vacation. Like, I'm very much, if I want it, I get it. I'm very much, if I want it, I got it type of ordeal. And I feel like that with like trips and going places. I've been a lot of places. There's a lot of other places I'm going. Like, the next couple of months, we're doing a lot of traveling. So I don't think I just have like a dream vacation. Yeah, I don't think I have one. Or like stuff on the bucket list that just seems like utterly unobtainable to me. I don't have that, if that makes any sense. Did your grandparents know you were an accountant? I don't know. I don't think so. If they knew, they didn't say anything. If they know now, they still haven't said anything. Like, they know what I do now. Like, they know I work in medicine. Like, I talk to my grandparents pretty often. If they did know, they didn't say anything. If they do know, they still haven't said anything. They probably did, but like, who cares? What do you do for a living? What do I do for a living? I don't know. What do I do for a living? Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. I genuinely. Okay, so I've kind of touched on this where I would have to explain some stuff financially. I do make my own money, don't get me wrong. And like, have work jobs, stop working jobs, went to school, stopped going to school. Like, money is just one of those things that like it's kind of just there. Like I can't even genuinely tell you how I have made it to this point. And like I have savings, I have like credit, like I pay, like I actually have bills and stuff, and I do I do have a couple different forms of income. I was working, I'm not at the moment, but I am going back at some point. No, I've already accepted an offer. But I do work, and I was working before, and social media, and social media pays in a couple different ways. So I guess social media is like the main thing, and then everybody, and then everything else is kind of like secondary. So I guess I would give it to, I guess I would give it to social media. I guess I would have to give it to social media, because social media probably is the bulk of my income, and then everything else is kind of like fuck around and find out. Shit. And social media isn't consistent for sure. So I guess I do a lot of nothing. I'm joking, but like I wouldn't even know how to explain it to you. Like money really does just, it grows on trees. And I felt like that since I was like super duper young, and I still think like that. And like I got called spoiled the other day, and I agree with that, because I am, because I think like this, like if anything were to go awry, I have the means to like make some shit shake. And like I'm also not lazy, because I'm also like, I'm very much, oh, if something happens, like I have my own money, and like I always know how to make more money if I have to make more money. But like money really does come to me, like I just end up with like a deposit here for something, or like, oh, a little whatever for bloop 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 and blah blah blah. I'm not gonna give you a rundown of my finances. But it's just kind of one of those things that like I don't know, I have no idea. So yeah, but that is all the questions. So that is it, and that is all. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I hope you got some insight about me as a person. You know, I hope you learned something. And I will see you guys in the next video. I love you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.